Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about kind of a long video. I'm going to try to make it as short as possible, but in reality it's probably going to end up being about 10 minutes long. So if you don't like 10-minute long videos, then this is not the video for you. But if you like listening to stories and things that are related to horses, then you're at the right place. Today I'm going to be talking about getting my horse. And this isn't like what you're supposed to do when you're getting a horse. Honestly, this was probably one of the more frowned upon ways that I got my horse, so no hate for this video, please. Also, this is kind of going to be a lot of things before and after getting my horse, because there were so many things that went into it. I moved barns so many times. You'll see, because I'm a nice person, I'm not going to name names for the barns that I boarded at, for the barns that I rode at, because that's just plain rude. Now that I'm rambling, you'll eventually find all this out. I don't know what I'm telling you. Yeah, let's get started. I was at my first barn for a very long time. It's where I started out learning to ride English. I met a lot of friends there. It was just a fun time because I had an amazing trainer that I loved, and I honestly did not know a lot about horses, so kind of going with the term ignorance is bliss, I guess. I just was having an amazing time, but little did I know that a lot of things were going on behind the scenes that just kind of ended up ruining it for me. So basically what I mean is my trainer that I loved, she was basically forced to quit, which was heartbreaking for me because she was my first trainer that I really liked. She had taught me so much, and it was just kind of terrible for me because I just didn't know anything else. So she quit, she was gone, and I was left at this first barn not knowing what to do. And I rode with one of the trainers I had started out with. Eventually, my mom and I kind of both agreed, and we eventually talked my dad into it, kind of, that we really wanted to start looking at horses. We were probably just going to get a beginner horse. So the horse's name was Mason, and we found him online. So I know we were going to say, like, oh my gosh, why are we looking online? It's so sketchy online. Well, we did not get any help. No one helped us when we reached out and we were like, hey, we really want to buy a horse. So we were like, okay, so we're going to go look it ourselves. So we weren't just plain stupid and looked in our area, price range as ours. We looked really in detail. We looked for a couple months, and finally we found this horse named Mason. We talked to his owner. He lives in Georgia, and he was at the perfect training level to where I would be able to progress, completely trained, and he would have brought me really far. Honestly, that's what we would have thought. So we brought him to the owner of the barn. We brought a sheet, we brought all of the information, we brought all of the contact information to this lady of the first barn, and we said, we really love this horse. We just fell head over heels for him. He is amazing. We would love it if you could contact them, and we would love your opinion on him. So the owner of the barn talked to my mom, and my mom told me afterwards that she basically told my mom off, like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Why didn't you come to me first? This is so irresponsible of you. And we didn't want to be rude, so we were just like we tried to ask for your help. And she was like, if you want a horse, you can buy one of the horses that we have at this barn. Meanwhile, they're all $50,000, $100,000. Some of them were even like $300,000 horses, and we're like, in case you haven't like noticed, we can't afford that. And so if you don't come through me, basically she was saying, I can't help you, and I won't allow you to get this horse. And so we were like, okay, if that's how you're going to be, then we're just gonna leave. And so we left that barn. We found another one. We found our second barn that we were gonna go to, and we talked to the trainer, and we were like, hey, we found this horse named Mason, because she actually was an old trainer at the first barn, but she left because probably for the same reasons that my trainer quit. So we were like, hey, can we board here? Can we ride here? We found this amazing horse named Mason. Here's everything about him. You can call the owner, you can do everything. She did not call the owner. She didn't do anything. She was talking to us. She said, this horse sets up a lot of red flags. She's like, this horse could kick out. This horse could be very dangerous for Avery. Basically, if you don't get what I'm saying right now, is the people who we reached out for us to help get this horse were basically saying, if you don't buy through me, then to where I can get some of that profit, then I'm not gonna let you buy at all. We were like, since two people told us that this horse was not a good idea, heartbroken, I was like, okay, I guess we don't have to get this horse. We'll just ride here for a while. We can just do whatever, because the person was a credible trainer, so we couldn't argue with that. We couldn't just go somewhere else because we really didn't know where to go. We just finally gave up on Mason. We told the owner in Georgia, we are so sorry that this didn't work out. We honestly believed he would have been a good fit. Basically, that was that. We ended the thing with Mason, and we started riding at the second barn. So I rode there for a month. The trainer that I had was starting to say again, okay, so here's some horses that I think Avery would benefit off of. And again, these were very expensive horses. We couldn't afford this. And we were like, we can't do this. What do you, like, she wasn't offering us anything that we were going to be able to afford. Please don't comment saying, well, if you can't afford a horse, then why are you even trying to buy a horse? And honestly, we had a budget. We could afford board, but we did not want to spend $50,000, $15,000 even. Now, we didn't want to spend that much on a horse because there was just no need to. They were perfectly good horses that I could ride because I was at the experience level then, that I could have ridden something that wasn't that expensive. So the trainer, we were telling her that we just couldn't get these horses. Like, stop offering them to us because I'm perfectly fine now with just riding the lesson horses. And she said, well, if you're not going to buy a horse, then I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And we were like, what? Like, are you serious? And so we left that barn. We found a third barn. This place was extremely nice. The people were so incredibly sweet to us. They were welcoming. They were extremely credible trainers. They were very nice to us. And the only problem was this place was freaking expensive. We were torn between going to a less expensive barn with board or staying there and not being able to own a horse. And so we rode there for a while. This was during the summer, so we were basically barn hopping. Finally, we chose to leave. They were extremely nice about it, but we were at the point where we really wanted to buy a horse. And this is the whole point of the whole entire summer. We were financially ready to buy a horse. We were riding experience level ready to buy a horse. We were mentally ready to buy a horse. We found our fourth barn. And this fourth barn, we will come stay at for 2 years, on and off kind of. Tried 3 horses, and this barn is where we found my horse, Autumn. So basically the same thing with Mason. We went online, again, because the trainer at the fourth barn, she was actually the opposite, but yet still not helping us. She was totally uninvolved. She didn't care. She didn't give a flying fart about what we did. She was just like, yeah, whatever, go do whatever, yeah, okay. So we were like, at the time, we were like, great, so you're not pressuring us to do anything. That's basically it. So we found Autumn, we went and tried her. We were like, hey, trainer, will you come help us try this? Well, just let me know how she is. Y'all can totally board her here. Okay, thanks. And so I was like, Mom, like, we're not having any luck. No one's wanting to help us. I'm just really sad because no one was helping us. That's basically all I have to say about that. And the people who were helping us were trying to drain our bank account, basically. And we weren't going to have it. Like, so we found Autumn. They had actually just put her ad up that night, and we were the first ones to call, apparently. We were like, we really like this horse. Is there any way we could come out and try her anytime soon? And it's funny because when we got there, she said, you guys are so lucky because I got 10 more calls the next day, literally 10. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Like, she was almost taken and we didn't even know it. We didn't even know anything about her. So I got on and I rode her. My mom like videoed our entire ride to show to our trainer. She was an adorable horse, but I looked past it. She was a very sweet horse, but I looked past it. I got on her and I was like, yeah, I mean, she's completely fine, like, whatever. And so my mom's like, I really like her, Abe, like, she's really awesome. And I'm like, yeah, she walked, trot, cantered great. There was really no vices about her, except I didn't get my hopes up. I was like, I'm not getting my hopes up on this horse. Like, watch it be gone the next day. Watch someone buy her. I loved her. I was like, she's great, but I'm not getting my hopes up on this horse because the last, like, 4 horses we tried, they all sold, they all didn't work out, they all didn't get approved. And so we talked it over with my dad. He was kind of like, we had been doing this, and he's like, okay, whatever, like, guys, I don't know if we can do this because it's not working out, and I feel like the price is getting higher. And we're like, no, Dad, like, hold on. So I made a PowerPoint. This is how I convinced my dad to buy a horse. I made a PowerPoint. I made it really, really nerdy. I made all the prices of the board. I did all the things that I would do. And I would ride her a lot. I would ride the horse a lot, and we're like, we really like her. He said yes fairly quick, and I was like, whoa, like, that's crazy. So yes, we put a deposit down on her, and they trailered her over to our barn. And she's like, you can try her for 2 days. If you don't like her, if there's any reason that you don't want her, I can come pick her back up for just like a small fee, and then we'll give you all your money back. And I was like, okay, great. So no strings attached, basically. So I came out both days. I rode her. I like groomed her. I spent time with her, and she was great. And I was like, there's no way this is real. Like, something's about to happen. Something's gonna mess something up. And no, it worked out. We were like, nope, keep your money. We are keeping the horse, and she's awesome. And I was like, wow. So now I have a horse, and so I'm not quite done with the story yet, so I'll kind of try to speed things up since we got the horse. This is kind of what led to it. We ended up staying at the 4th barn for about 2 years when finally we kind of had enough with my trainer. I had basically a mental breakdown. I was like, Mom, we aren't going anywhere. Like, some of my friends are going to A shows at their barns and we just couldn't do anything. Like, Mom, like, we're not going anywhere. Like, what am I gonna do? I don't want to sell Autumn. I love her. She has so much potential. But what am I going to do? So finally, my mom was researching and she found this program called IEA, or Interscholastic Equestrian Association, at this really nice barn. They had IEA, and we started riding, and I started learning this whole, like, oh my gosh, I started learning all these new things, and I started progressing and progressing and progressing and progressing, and IEA season started, and I started going to shows, and I started getting the whole show experience, and I started making tons of new friends at this barn. And the only problem was that we still were boarding our horse at the 4th barn because it was about the same price as the 3rd barn that we went to. It was like pretty expensive. At the time we were like, we can't do that. And then finally my mom was like, Avery, like, we are paying the amount that, because it was like a monthly fee, kind of almost as much as the board at the 4th barn, because it was pretty inexpensive at the 4th barn, but we were paying that monthly fee at the 5th barn to do IEA and to have weekly lessons there. And my mom was like, it basically adds up to boarding her there. And I was like, well, really? So does this mean that we can move her to there, and then we would say we wouldn't be at the 4th barn anymore, and the lessons would be included in the board, and then we could do IEA and everything? And my mom was like, we're at the position where we basically can move Autumn to this 5th barn because we're paying that much anyways. And I am done with this barn right now, this 4th barn, because you're not doing anything there. Autumn's not being ridden a ton. It's just not a good situation. And I was like, whoa, like, yes, let's go, like, let's leave now. And so about a month later, we told our trainer, we had our trainer, our 4th barn trainer, which we didn't really call her the trainer anymore because I hadn't had a lesson from her in about 6 months. So the owner of the barn, basically, we were like, we out of here, bye. Thank you very much for your services. Thank you for keeping my horse here, but we gone. So we said a lot nicer than that, but I'm just basically summing up the conversation. And so my new trainer came out and she looked at Autumn, and I was like, I'm so sorry, she's kind of being crazy today. And she's like, no, she's great. Like, this horse has so much potential. Like, let's get her to the 5th barn. And I was like, you know what? I like your attitude. Let's go. And so after nationals, because we went to nationals with the IEA team, after we went to Florida, we came back, and then we moved her here to the 5th barn, and we have been there ever since. And Autumn is really good, and I sound like I'm about to cry, but I'm actually not. I'm just really pumped because every time I think about it, I just think of all that we went through and all the rude people that we passed, and it all led up to getting my amazing horse and coming to this amazing barn with these amazing people, an amazing trainer, and amazing facility, and I'm just so happy now. So I hope you enjoyed this story. I'm going to try to edit it to be as short as possible with including all of the details in it. It's probably going to be about 10-15 minutes long, so I really apologize for that. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like if you like this video, and yes, have an amazing day. Bye!